Hey everybody, and welcome to the live stream. My name is Nadia. If you are new here, welcome. So on this channel, I talk about immigration to the United Kingdom through the route of the global talent visa. And my credentials are that I got this visa myself as a software engineer. And later, I started helping others achieve this goal as well, coaching them through this process and helping them increase their chances for the endorsement. So today I have a very interesting conversation, and this is probably one of my favorite types of live streams that I do. Live stream with my client, with my former client Edith. So very excited to welcome you on the show.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Nadia. Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for agreeing to join. So yeah, normally we start this live streams talking a little bit about you, your background, where you're from, what you do for a living. How did you decide to relocate to the United Kingdom, and like how did you learn about the global talent visa?
Yeah, so I am original from Peru in South America, and I was living here for almost 10 years. Um, I worked as a DevOps for almost 5 or more than 5 years as a DevOps, as a developer. Right now, my current position is a Technology Evangelist at Percona, which is a role where I am more exposed to the people, to this public speaking and things making public. And how I know about the I'm sorry. How I know about the global talent visa. It was because 1 year ago I saw a post of Pavel Odinsov, who shared his experience with the visa, how he get it, and he said that something important that keep in my mind. He said that he's not a special in any of that things. He was a normal person. He said that, but he got this visa for the talented, exceptional talently, and it was good. I asked him for a coffee chat, and he was really nice to give me that maybe 1 hour of his time. We talk about it. We talk about the global talent visa. He tell me about all the information, where to get the resources to get it, and also he encouraged me to apply it because he saw very fast my profile, and he said I could make it.
Yeah, amazing. So, what in general motivated you to consider immigrating to the UK? Is it like the job opportunities, or is it something else?
Time ago, I was trying to look for opportunities abroad, like work abroad, or maybe make my master in computer science. I was doing some of these options, but in that time, I realized that I was with a 2 years of a gap, and my savings was not enough to go for these options. And I tried to look for other options, which was more affordable. And just in that time, I saw that post, which I consider, okay, I don't need too much effort in this, in money, talking about money, but I need time to invest in complete all that requirements. But another thing that I saw is that in UK, the communities of tech are really developed. There is a lot of communities there. I met a lot of friends there in my last trip. So I am impressed with a lot of things that I can do there, and I can also share.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think the community here is very well developed. There is a lot of brilliant people come to London from all over Europe. I would say that, um, to be honest, like a lot of people have like their ultimate goal is to go to the United States, and then a lot of people go kind of through the way of London. And it's a good opportunity actually to meet a lot of talented people, to connect. And in terms of job opportunities, again, I fully agree. I don't think that there is a place in Europe right now where there are more jobs, even though it's quite a difficult situation in terms of looking for a new job. But still, if you have a chance of finding a good job, then it would be here in London. So I think definitely it's an interesting, yeah, I think it's a great option for a lot of people working in digital tech. So we had some comments already from LinkedIn. So just people congratulating you. And yeah, just being happy for you. Also, I didn't say this in the beginning, but if you have any questions to me or to Edith, please drop them in the comments. You can ask them during the show. We'll answer them, I guess, towards the show or maybe during the show, whatever feels more comfortable. And just show support. Maybe leave a comment. This will help other people discover the live stream and just more people to join and learn and get inspired by the stuff that we're discussing here. So you mentioned how you learned about this visa. You saw a post about it from somebody who got the visa. So how did you start the process, and where did you get the information to get you started?
Once I got all the resources and links where I should start, it was really hard to read all of them because also was not my native language. Doing it, I struggle a lot. Even if I translate, there was something that was not easy to understand in my case. Um, I started, I could say, I started 1 year ago, but I started to slowly. I didn't
Mm,
complete. I just do it some um, papers and I leave it for 1 month, 2 months, and I was like procrastinating for almost 1 year. But once we noticed that Test Nation visa was closing, it was really boom, like okay, you was
yeah,
procrastinating
yeah.
1 year and then you didn't do anything. You should do it now. So it's when I when I decided this year to start to make it. Also, I had some friends who was trying to push me all that time, but it was not because I was procrastinating, also because there was something that was, in my case, difficult to complete. All the requirements was there. I had all the requirements to complete, but I should be specific in some of them, choosing some of them the most valuable for this kind of visa. And also, I try to compilate and remember. I go to the past in 10 years and I remember what I did. In the last 5 years, I did this, I did this. I put it, screenshot, numbers, and try to put it everything in one paper. That was the only thing that I have. It was very mess and disorganized until this year. And when I saw that they was closing, it was like a shock because there is no more opportunity for this see. But I was doing nothing. But then is when I people recommended also to reach you
Hmm.
because I was blocking, and my friend
Yeah.
was push me, but I was blocking. I found that there was one time that I didn't advance. Okay, what I should do more, even if I read all the requirements, I say, okay, but how I can do it in this work, in this way, in this shape. All the shape wasn't not good to build for me.
Mm.
Um, yes, it was the main struggle,
So
I think.
yeah. Yeah. For me personally, when you reached out to me, like for me, it was clear just from your profile. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well, there's a link you can go to Edith's profile and see like the amount of achievements that she has. Like for me, it was immediately obvious that she would potentially be able to qualify for the visa. I have this little bit of professional deformation where I look at somebody's profile on LinkedIn and I immediately think to myself whether this person would be able to get the visa or not. And I think in this case, it was quite obvious that you would be able to get this visa. But I think that you still had. I just thought that you still had some doubts about it, or you had some issues like organizing the materials and all of it together, which is where and also just for context for what was happening back then, Technation, the organization who is endorsing these visas, they announced that it will be closing down. And this is when a lot of people started applying really quickly, preparing their documents. And this is where you reached out to me as well. And back then, I think it was probably my busiest time ever because so many people were trying to get in kind of at the last moment. And then very, weirdly, Technation, didn't stop accepting applications, and they're still being accepted as normal still, and until this day. So that was kind of a bizarre time, I think, for everybody. But I think that it gave a lot of people this push that they needed to really get working on this and finalize it and basically get it done, right? So in your case, we proceeded with a strategy session, right? So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about what you found valuable in it, like how it helped you in your preparation. Just maybe a few words for people listening to this who maybe want to work with me and they aren't sure like what the value will be in the session.
Yeah, once I contact you, it was nice. I mean, because you gave me some light to follow. At the beginning, I thought I couldn't make it alone. because I saw a lot of people make it alone, all the process and go for you yourself did it, so it was really impressive. But I admit that I was blocked. It was the main thing. Once I reach you, I once I reach to you, um, I say okay, I need to review my documents. But it wasn't the case because I needed a strategy plan. All my documents was oriented to another way, not that the way that this nation wanted. So it's the one thing that you led me to realize also. So the strategy session was really nice. Was I think 1 hour of the time of Nadia or more, and we go over everything of my profile. We go over my background, tech project that I contribute, media mentions, international talks. We try to write it everything in a paper, and it was really good because made me think, okay, this is going to match mandatory criteria. This is going to match optional criteria. Which kind of optional criteria? Number one, number two. So we organized that, and I really appreciate that, Nadia. You helped me that part. So after that. We go everything. It was very intensive. I think was 3 hours or 1 hour. I don't
Yeah, it's
remember.
usually 3 hours. 3 hours.
Yeah, it was really long, but it was really
Yeah.
interesting. It showed me also to see, okay, I have something to show because at the beginning I was with adopt, also with imposter syndrome, saying, okay, this is not enough. I need more. Maybe I need to work more this year. I don't know. But when once
Mm.
I put the paper, we realized, okay, that you have a lot. You have this. Now it's time to choose what is the most valuable for this kind of this.
Yeah, you actually had too much stuff. I mean, it's funny how often people think that they don't have enough, and then once we start digging into the experience, it turns out that they have actually too many evidence pieces to choose from, which is again like a great problem to have. But I think in your case, so as you said, like we went through your entire experience. We looked at the document that you already have, what you can get, the awards or the public talk that you had. You also have a lot of contributions to open source. So to me, like it immediately sounds like a perfect case for the Technation visa, especially now. I think that right now the expectations are even higher than they were, and people get rejected because they don't have a public profile, they don't have public talks, they don't have that stuff that you had a lot of. So for me, it was like clear-cut case where they will endorse, and the question was just putting it together and writing it and choosing the correct criteria. So if you still remember, probably you do, which criteria did we end up choosing, and just to remember.
um, I think we complete mandatory criteria of hours and social media mentions and blogging. And also, we added some things about public speaking, which we divided
Mm-hmm.
into parts because I have many, but we wanted also to put all of them, so we divided into documents. And also, we had open source contributors,
Mm-hmm.
where I yeah, and the second criteria was about optional criteria. It was about volunteer work and in advanced tech companies. And the optional criteria three was about impacting open source. And yeah, it was.
Yeah. And also like impact to the growth of companies. So yeah, I think in your case it was clear that the second criteria and the third one would be the best ones to choose. I would say that it's quite a popular combination for software engineers, because then the third criteria is about how you help the company grow and the company that is product led, right? So it's very important that it's a company that's building the product, not just providing the service. And then for the second criteria, it's all about community work. It's how you advance the field of tech outside of your 9 to 5. And this, I think, where you had a lot of contributions. And for the mandatory, as you said, it's the leadership criteria. So we wanted to show that you have been recognized as a leader in the last 5 years, and we did this through a variety of like external proof, which is again very, very strong. I see a lot of people try to meet mandatory with just letters from people that they worked with, and while I admit that this is possible in some cases, I would say that right now it's quite dangerous to apply with just letters. In general, for each criteria, you should have various evidences. You should have screenshots, letters, like some other proofs that you use. So in your case, you mentioned that you had so many public talks that we had to divide them into 2 documents, which is again like something that happens with some applicants, like really lucky people who have too much stuff. So and then the question is like, how do you divide the evidences? Like, how do you group them so that you get everything in? Because you only have 3 pages, right? You can't put everything in one document. So do you remember like how we divided your public appearances, public speeches, conferences, basically? I think it was by
I
language, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was not language. At the beginning, we think it was the good, but at the end, we ended doing public speaking one, which was an international talk
Yeah.
in Belgium, and the other was about the communities, Kubernetes communities, for community, the talks that I did in Kubernetes community days, Pakistan, Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and the other
Mm.
was about virtual ones, the virtual talks that I did for Docker community, and some talks that I did in Peru in Spanish.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, there are different ways to group documents, and there is no like rule like how do you do this. I think everybody chooses their own way to do this. I've seen people sometimes have a document that is about awards, for instance, that are local to their country, and then they would have a separate document about international awards, or they can be by language. So I've had clients where they would have a lot of media mentions and articles about them, and they would be in different languages. So they would have a document that is media publications about them in English, and then another one media publications about them, for instance, in Russian, and this is what they used as well. So again, like you can be creative, but I think it's important to see that if you have a lot of evidence, it's very good if you can show everything in your documents, but sometimes you have to be creative as to like where you put stuff. So yeah, brilliant. So we had documents about public speaking, we had documents about open source, and you have done a lot of work there. Then you mentioned volunteering as well. Can you give us maybe some ideas of like what kind of volunteering you used as an evidence, so that people again can match this to their experience and ask themselves like, do I have something like this? Can I use it? Yeah.
Yes, in the case of optional criteria 2, which is volunteers to work in advanced stage, we divided also in two, Nadia. We divided in volunteer one document, which with 3 pages. This includes since that I was doing without knowing about Tech Nation Visa before in the past.
Yeah.
So we realizing that it was a good proof at the end, we realized, okay, this is really good. So I participate in the free AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, invited for some friends. Andrew, I think, he invited me to be instructor in that. So I accepted just because it's fun to make it. And but there was a lot of people there in this bootcamp, a lot, and we interchanged some words in that. So I included as an evidence. Also, another thing of volunteer is the project that I did by myself in 2020 in the time of pandemic. I created a Discord server which now has 1,000 users. I created this just because for fun, also because I wanted to. In that time of pandemic, we was so isolated, so we need to talk with somebody. So I had some friends from around the world and people from my school also for 42 who was joining to preparing this year or trying to solve problems in data structures and algorithms, and also coding in C programming. So we
Mm.
started with person, but it increased without knowing. So now it's 1,000 users. So I also include that because it was a good evidence that I wanted to change things when in that circumstances of pandemic. And the other
Yeah.
thing that
Yeah.
we had document, it was the one letter of recommendation who gave me one uh, the CEO of Taro, the CEO, the founder of Taro. I think when it was a community of tech career grow, when it started, I started also to 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 motivate people to prepare in data structures and algorithms. I was in chair of one of the channel, which is interviewing. I was encourage people to solve problems in this area, to coding, and because it also helped me to improve my English and also make connections with people. It was really fun. I didn't know it was also a good
Mm.
evidence because the founder of Taro gave me that uh, um, a letter of recommendation. I think it was really heavy also in my
Yeah.
application.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was. I remember it because also like Terra went through IC, and it's a famous company with a big name, and it of course it helps if you can put some big names on your application.
yeah, and they know also my work in the community. They know how I
Mhm.
started, how I until now they still support me, and it is really nice. And for the optional criteria, also in volunteer part, the second document, volunteer two, I added the part of state of open come volunteer. I went to the UK to be volunteer for 1 day. I think it's just go there, and it was a technology conference. I try to guide people there. Okay, here is the room for that. In the second row you will find the stocks, and just guide people through this conference. It was really nice. And also there was a person here there who gave me a recommendation letter for the visa. And the
Mhm.
other volunteer at there, it was FOSDEN. It's a big technology open source conference in Belgium. I went for the first time the last year, and I also subscribed as a volunteer. So it was just clean things, organize things, move things at the end of the event to make it to to make the environment um, to organize things. Just that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just pleasant environment. Yeah.
just that, and we added there, so it also counts as an evidence.
Yeah, 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 amazing. I would say that when I was applying, I also used my experience as volunteer in my application when I was applying over a year ago. So it was also volunteering at the tech conference. And then with you, I think you had a lot of volunteering experience, which was, I think what helped was that it was done sufficiently in the past so that it couldn't be said that it was done just to support the visa application, right? Since you were doing this long ago and you weren't doing it for a visa, you were just doing it because you liked it and you found it valuable and important. So I think those things really help. And people ask me all the time, like, can I start volunteering? Like, will it help? And I always say that, like, yes, of course, if you want to volunteer, you should definitely do it. It will. Like it will help the community, it will help your karma, and like it will be good, but you have to be also aware of the fact that if you start volunteering just very shortly before you apply, then this evidence might not be enough for you to get endorsed, right? So you should have something else in the second criteria, not just recent volunteering or like recent publications, which is what a lot of people I think try to do, and it's not like it might have worked in the past to an extent, right? But right now, I think it's quite dangerous to rely on just the recent evidences. In your case, it just was, I think, quite easy to see that like second criteria for you will be guaranteed. It took some time to like finalize like how this should be set, who could write the letters, like what you should include in each document. But overall, I think your community experience was just super obvious to anybody. Do you remember for the third criteria for the significant contributions, what kind of evidences did we use? Was it related to your jobs or was it with open source? Do you remember by any chance?
Yes, the optional criteria three, it was both related to my previous job, and the other one related to community. In my job, I mentioned it things that I did at the beginning, who was at the beginning, who was after the work that I did. So I automate some things, and I put it also numbers, how this improve our work in a team. And for the open source project, I also added an extension that I did by myself. I did it just because I wanted to play with a new feature of Docker, and I was trying to build something, so I did it. And my Docker extension was added into some important repository that one member of the community creates. So I added because I had the evidences of open source contributor there, and also numbers to show it how many views it got.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. I think your open source contributions again were super strong. You have done like first of all like significant contributions, but also to repositories that have some weight in the industry, which is you have to do both things, right? You have to first of all contribute to projects that have some weight in the industry, but also you have to do something important yourself. So you should be one of the like leading contributors or the author or just one of the top contributors, which I think are all important. And again, in your case, it was like over the, over long term you were contributing. I remember that you also contributed to translating documentation, if I'm not mistaken. Was it so?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
so
right. It was
yeah.
go-
Yeah, so yeah, it was kind of promoting and also we presented it as in promoting open source, because if you translate documentation to another language, then you open up this technology to a whole new market of people who wouldn't be able to access it before. And again, this is like an example of things that you can do, and you had a lot of them. Also, I remember that you had actually a lot of awards, right? The recognitions for various things. Again, maybe you can give us some ideas of what kind of awards did you use? What kind of awards can people use? Because this is where I think a lot of people really freeze, because when they hear award, they think Nobel Prize, and they have like very little ideas of like what kind of awards can they use in this respect.
Yes, I also thought the same. I thought, okay, when they say awards, it's something bigger, right? Like you are in the
Mm-hmm.
meaning of the receiving a lot of things, and you are the main thing. But it was not my case. Also, what I added into awards was the Docker Captain recognition. That was an award that Docker gave me to contribute in open source. So to just to contribute for the communities, to make things, testings, create content, do some of that things. And I also added there a letter of recommendation that one of the members of the community gave me. And for KubeCon, for another award, I added KubeCon scholarship that I got, I think, 2 years ago. It was because I was contributing open source, translating, like you say, from English to Spanish, which also helped me to improve my English. And I was translating from English to Spanish there, and I added that kind of contribution to get this scholarship. And the other awards was the last that I got. It was Cloud Native Computing Foundation Ambassador, uh, which are persons around the world. I think 150 persons was just around the world for their contributions in this space, in this ecosystem of Cloud Native Computing Foundation. It was because I was doing also content creation, which is I love to make it, create videos, write blog posts, support other communities, be part of that, and yeah, that was what I had in awards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we also relied on your social media presence and in general, like your profile. I would say that like it's not necessary for a person who gets this visa to be public or to be a blogger or an influencer, but it certainly helps with a lot of the things, I think. So we mentioned some of your publications in the application, from what I remember, like how many followers you have, kind of what your profile is, and this was something that a recommender can say, and it just shows that you, as a person applying for the visa, that you have some sort of weight in the industry, you have influence, people are listening to you, and all of this feeds into this idea of leadership and this idea of the mandatory criteria, right? So it means that if people follow you or they read your blog posts, if they share your public speeches or your videos or whatever, it means that you have some recognition as a leader, and you are a thought leader, right? So you are a leader of opinion in a certain field. And I think those things really help. It was really easy in your case to build this idea and this image of you as a leader in the open source world, in the Docker world, especially with your awards. And I think, as you mentioned, like since you had awards that were quite exclusive, so for instance, being a Docker captain, we made sure that we explain like how rare this is, like how many people in the world have this award. And this is something that, again, you can always leverage in your application. If you have an award is basically a list, being on a list or being on a rating of some sort in the community or in some branch of digital tech. If you can explain like what exactly the list is, why it's prestigious, and what it takes to be there, then I think it can be used as an award, right? So an award is not necessarily like a cash prize or a medal or something like this. It can be really anything that you present as an award. So again, I think it helps to be creative, and it helps to analyze your achievements in kind of a holistic light and look at all various possibilities. And this is again what I help my clients with during my strategy sessions. So yeah, if you personally need help with anything, related to finalizing your application or maybe creating a strategy, you can reach out to me. All the links to me are under this video on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I think we discussed quite a lot about your documents. Do you still remember anything about the top document, which is the personal statement, and the CV, which are the first documents that there is? Anything that you remember, or any tips, or what was it like to create them? If you still remember, of course.
Yeah, no, for a CV, at the beginning, I had a lot of things. It was more than pages, which
Yeah.
was not good. And but with the time, I was improving that. I just added key achievements for the roles that I work in product-based companies as infrastructure developer and also as a technology evangelist in my last role. And I added another category was about open source projects, and where I mentioned all the projects where I involved, even if it was just about documentation like Kubernetes. I also had educational background where I study. I think that was the only thing that I had in educational background. I take another courses, but I didn't add all that thing, just university. In the presentations and talks, I try to mention all the things that I mentioned in my evidences, like summarizing all the things, when it was and how many people attend this talks and presentation. And in community work also, I mentioned it, all the volunteer work that I did, try to put it all
Mm-hmm.
that and letter of recommendations, like your advice, right? Trying to
Mm-hmm.
summarize everything that I did in the letter of recommendation and also evidences, and try to summarize it there in my curriculum. And in the personal statement, it was the first thing I did at the beginning. I put it my motivation to go to UK. Why you want to go to the UK? But I was missing one thing. I was missing how valuable I will be in UK. I was missing to justify that. I was missing because I wanna go things like that, right? But it was not just that. It was okay. Justify what do you want to achieve there. So I added one of the things that I want to create. I want to be entrepreneurs in the future. I want to keep working in communities, improving this, doing my role as a technology evangelist at Percona. I want to do this more exposure, international exposure. So I added that things that could add value to UK, and yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's quite common that people start writing the personal statement first, and they just talk about kind of their personal life and then why they want to move to London. And I think that the point of the letter is a bit different. Of the personal statement is you have to do both. Like, you have to talk about yourself and what you have done and why you are a global talent, but also what you will do for the economy, because they're looking for people who will bring value. And I think in your case, it was quite obvious, with your background, how much you have already achieved, despite being, maybe not in the most conducive environment, economically. And it was obvious, that given the right opportunities, you will achieve even more. And, you made a very good case for what exactly you plan to achieve, because it's important to be concrete and to give an idea of what you want to do in the long term, in the short term, and be as specific as you can. Because again, this is something that I've seen in recent rejections, maybe like in the last 2-3 weeks. And just for context, since I have this sort of brand recognition, people reach out to me who apply on their own, or they apply with other agencies, and they sometimes show me their rejections, right? So I do get to see a lot of rejections, unfortunately, and also rejections on various chats, forums. This allows me to get an idea of how you can increase your chances and not be rejected. So what a lot of people get back from TechNation is, not having an exact plan, like not explaining an exact plan of what they will do in the UK. They say that, it's too vague, right? Like, your plans are too vague, and you should be more clear about your goals. And I think it's very important now. I think as the rules like haven't changed from April, but I think that the implementation of the rules have changed, and it has become just more difficult to get the visa. So I would encourage you to really prepare very carefully and make sure that you are hitting all of those things that we're discussing today. So we had another comment just praising you, amazing profile. Edith, go ahead. And we had another question, just we can answer it now. So I recently checked the technician is not endorsing applications after March. So to whom should we contact? Would be grateful if you can include this in the discussion. So again, for context, I really wish that they handled this communication better, because this is something that I get asked, I think, like every other live stream. Somebody comes and asks, what do we do now the technician is not accepting applications? So the thing is that they shut down, but they're still accepting and processing applications as normal. So if you want to apply for the global talent visa under the digital technology track, you still apply through a technician. Nothing changed. Basically, their website is still working, and you do everything the way you did before March. It's just that technician is no longer handling other things that they were doing before they shut down. So technician was an organization that was handling a lot of things related to fostering the startup community in the UK, supporting businesses, and generally promoting technology in various shapes and forms, organizing events, accelerators, and all that stuff. And they're no longer doing that, but they're still processing the endorsement applications for the visa. So if you want to apply, again, the route is still open, so you should try your luck. If you need any help, you can reach out to me as well. So yeah, amazing. So we've talked about all of the main documents, right? So how long did it take you to prepare the drafts? Because then you also came back to me for a review package, right?
Yes, I reached to you. Let's see, in the middle of March, maybe
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of
Yeah, I think
March of
so.
this year. Yeah, when I know that Technation is going to close. And yes, and I think we prepared these documents in 2 weeks. I had some evidences in the past to just put it into the paper and to organize it things, and you helped me in that. And but the process was 1 week doing it. I was having a full time job also. It was really complicated to work at nights. They were really tired to make it, trying to complete reach people for letter recommendation, writing things and making concrete the things. It was really overwhelmed in that time. So next week I decided to ask for vacation. My manager support me in this process also, and I asked for vacation and dedicate the entire week just to complete these documents. I think we did it in 2 weeks. We reach people, we talk, because some of the people are reaching in some cases they didn't have the time or wasn't able to have this letter of recommendation, and but we have it backups, and we have to reach it, and we have to
Yeah.
make the letter of recommendation and reach again for a to sign up the letter. It was really complicated this week, but with really extreme things what we did, but we did it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was amazingly fast, as you said. Like, it's very important to have backups, and I think this is where, as a coach, I always try to think ahead and like think of an option A, B, and C, and always prepare my clients for like the best scenario, and the kind of the moderately good scenario, and the bad scenario, so that everybody has a realistic understanding of what their chances are, and also like what can go wrong in this application. And I think in your case, it was clear that everything will be well, and the only problem might be with letters, because this is where a lot of applications actually kind of fall down, where you expect somebody to help you with the letter, and then for some reason they disappear, they change their mind, or they say like, I can't really share any information, like I can't sign it, it's too weird, and then they drop out. And then a lot of the times people are stuck because they have already built this whole application, and then they're just missing one letter. And this is where it's important to have backup letters and backup experts that will help you. And this is what I think what we worked on together as well. So yeah, can you maybe share any impressions from the review session, like whether it was valuable to you? What have you learned? Maybe you remember something from the review, maybe something that you didn't realize that you need to do, but then you learn during the review, or like any insights that others might find helpful.
There were things that where I wasn't having the right direction, and you helped me to make it. And also there was a lot of things that was redundancy
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
the context, and there was unnecessary things that we remove it. But by
Yeah.
myself, I wasn't able to realize, okay, this is, yes, it's repetitive, but maybe I can do it in a better, I can say it in a better words. So it's where you help me to organize this document, to say to be concrete, to show numbers. And I think that was the very good. I consider both of
Hmm.
your services, Nadia, good. The strategy which helped me to clarify my mind, and the other, the review, which was the last thing that we did to start
Yeah.
to start to
Yeah.
have
Thank
that
you so much.
complete.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that this was helpful to you. I would say that this is probably my favorite kind of service that I offer, the combination of a strategy and the review, because this is where I think that I can provide most value. This is the fastest way to do this, usually. And this is where it maximizes your chances of getting endorsed, basically, because if you sometimes people do just one thing out of those two, and I help them with the strategy, and then they prepare the documents on their own. But then it's quite easy for them to make a mistake in what they do and what they write, to maybe do something that technician doesn't like and they don't know it. And I think the opposite side of it is where people don't get a strategy session with me and then just get the review. I think here it depends, like what your mileage might vary with this. It depends on the quality of your documents. So sometimes it's the documents are really excellent, and I just have some minor fixes, but this is quite rare. I would say that in a lot of the cases when people prepare on their own, there is still a lot of work needs to be done, and I think it's also quite difficult to hear, because when you pay a lot of money and then somebody reads your documents and then critiques them. But I think it's also important to realize that this is, my job is to help you increase your chances of getting endorsed. And if I see something that doesn't work, I will just say as it is, and my approach is just being honest and open with the stuff that I share. So yeah, so after you applied, how long did you have to wait for the decision from technician?
After I apply, we apply. I think we applied the last day. No, we applied for April, which was 4 days
Mm-hmm.
after the shutdown of this nation, right? And I applied for April, and then it's supposed I should wait for 8 weeks, but it was longer. A day week, I didn't have any response for them, so I brought them, and they asked me to be more patient, to wait some weeks more. I think it was 11 weeks that I wait 11 weeks for to get the
Yeah.
answer.
Wow. So long. Yeah, I think it was at the time when there was a big backlog of applications for technicians. So a lot of people were waiting very long, and some of my clients were also waiting, like at the same time with you, because you applied kind of around the same dates, and they all waited for a very long time. So yeah, technician was not really keeping up with their own SLAs, and breaking the deadline. And I think in this case, generally, if you have been waiting for longer than 8 weeks, you are within your right to contact home office and ask, like, what's happening, like what are there any problems with your application, because most likely they will just say that they're delayed, and they ask you to be more patient. But also, I've heard some really strange stories around this. So for instance, I've heard from somebody who applied, they didn't hear back, and then they contacted the home office, and they were told that they never received their application. Something was messed up, or something was like they didn't match their application on home office website with the application on technician website, and there are like two parts in this process of getting endorsed. Within stage one, you fill out two applications basically, so they were not matched up. So things like that, I think, are rare, but also they can happen. So if something like this, if you're waiting very long, you should reach out to them and ask what's happening. But hopefully you won't. I think mostly recently people have been getting endorsed much quicker. So to my happiness, some of my clients got endorsed within just 7 days, which was pretty amazing. So yeah, you got endorsed. So do you still remember how you felt when you got the letter?
Yeah, I didn't believe it, because the message was weird. Was not say congratulations, something like that. It was okay. We decided this, and I didn't believe. I was I think I read you to see, okay, this is yes or this is not. What does it mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Like, so my friends, this is yes or no. Okay, they say this is yes, yes. I am believing. I read it again. I translate it again to see if I was, but it was. I think 3 a.m. I don't know why I wake up that hour, but it was, yeah. What's a
Yeah,
nice moment.
amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember you were asking me like how what does it mean, and it's so great for me to get those messages, but also it's very like it happens with almost all of my clients. They ask me like, what does it mean? Especially recently when the client was endorsed just 7 days after we applied, they were like, "This is a scam email. Like, what does it mean? It cannot be true." And also, as you said, like it doesn't say that like Congress, yay. It's just a message that is very weirdly worded, and especially if you're excited, and you're trying to read it quickly, it's very kind of easy to get confused, especially like around promise and talent, because then it's kind of like, was it promise, was it talent? So which can be very confusing. If you applied, for instance, for talent and you endorse a promise or vice versa, then it kind of takes another minute to understand what's happening. So yeah, now that you're over this process, so what was the hardest thing about the process for you? And also any tips you would like to share with somebody who's maybe thinking about applying for the visa in the future?
Yeah, I can say I have three hard things on all
Mm-hmm.
this process. One was to write this things by myself, to start to write and be concrete and make sense all the documents. It was really harder, and the other thing was to ask for help. Ask for help because I was stuck in some time. I wasn't doing progress, and ask for help was the good thing that I did. So I reached you, and the other was this waiting times was too longer. That just made me think that maybe I did, but I will be rejected, and everything that I did, it was for nothing. All that things in
Mm-hmm.
the,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the, but it helped me to also to go to the forum. People was having the same delays all the time, but they were feeling the same. They was feeling the same. Okay, I was not alone. All-
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It helps to have some sort of community and people going through the same process. And I do hope that this, my YouTube channel can be a source of community for other people. I'm showing the address of my YouTube channel on the screen for people watching this on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in hearing more stories like the one that we're hearing today and connecting with people and asking the questions in the comments, you can check it out. There is a huge library of videos like this there. And basically, I've been talking to people from various walks of life who got this visa. So it's not only for software engineers, it's also for so many fields, so many specialties within tech. So I've interviewed data scientists, product managers, marketers, ML engineers, entrepreneurs, designers, execs, and people, very various shades of, various specialties within the tech. Also, I've interviewed somebody from the art world, so a musician, because the visa is not only for tech people, but also for artists, which I think is also cool. So if you're interested in this topic, check out my channel. You will learn a lot there. So yeah, amazing story. I'm not sure if you have any more questions. I don't think we do here. But if you're watching this as a recording, if you have questions, in the future, please just write them in the comments. Let us know what you think. Also, if you're watching this live, let us know what you thought about this particular episode, what you learned. Was there anything new? I think a lot of your friends and supporters are watching this and cheering you on, Edith. But also, it's such a cool achievement. I think I don't often help people from Latin America, from South America. So I think the visa is maybe not very well known in your region. At least it seems this way. So it's good that you're kind of paving the path for future people applying from your region. So hopefully you'll be an inspiration to a lot of people. So yeah, I don't think we have any more comments to discuss. Any closing words? Again, like closing thoughts, tips, tricks that you wanted to share. Any words of inspiration for people who are on this journey?
Yes, I forgot to say that tips. And when when I realized that I wasn't able to make progress and decided to ask some people who help. So it was a big decision. Also was investment. I could say main investment. It's not a waste of money. It's investment because I wasn't able with a full-time job and other things make complete my documents was really a challenge. That's the reason I decided to hire Nadia for the services. But I saw also people that can make it alone. That's good. But in my case, it wasn't, and it's not bad. I think it's also good to ask for help. If you people are looking that feel that they are like overwhelmed with all that things, I recommended you to read everything, all the documentation of the official documentation of Global Talent Visa. Once you read it and you don't understand things, start to ask for help. There is a lot of people there who got this technician visa. Also, you can ask Nadia. You can ask for the support. She really make a good job with many people. And yes, try to talk with somebody. Try to participate in forum that will let you feel uh, alone in all this process.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing. I think that, as you said, like it's perfectly possible to get this visa on your own. Just collecting all the evidences on your own and like preparing everything on your own. I've shared in the chat a link to my website. I have a special page with do-it-yourself resources. There is a lot of free stuff there, or very affordable stuff. And you can do your own research and you can prepare. There are chats and forums where you can ask people to help you with your documents. So this is possible as well. But as you said, like if you don't have enough time to do all of this, then it might seem that you're saving money, not hiring somebody else. But in reality, what might happen is that you will spend a lot of your time, which is super valuable, but also you might still miss certain things, and then you will get rejected and you will waste a lot of time, and it will kind of feel terrible as well. So I think it's a trade-off. I personally applied on my own, but also at that point I didn't want to work with a big agency, and kind of the coach that I liked, I thought that I couldn't afford the help, which I think maybe right now I would treat this differently, knowing what I know about the process, because I do know that I spent a lot of time just trying to understand basic things about the criteria. And I know that if I paid somebody, they would just explain the stuff to me and I would just apply very quickly and not spend all of this time on the research. But also then I wouldn't be able to, talk about this in detail and help others. So I think it kind of worked out well for me. But yeah, just ask yourself a question whether you have time to do this. It's not an easy process. It takes a lot of time to prepare all of this stuff. There is a lot of writing, a lot of talking to people, a lot of gathering of links. And it's such an intense process. I think once you go through the process, you kind of understand why it takes so long and also why it costs a lot, the process itself, because it's just a massive project, especially now, I think, as it's becoming harder and harder to get this visa. But I do hope that we encourage you today to look into this visa, to look into this route for immigration to the UK. As I said, if you have questions about your eligibility, if you want any help or like coaching through this process, you can reach out to me if you want to learn whether you're eligible or not. But generally, if you work in digital technology and you have experience with built-in products, or not necessarily building them, but maybe selling digital products, right? If you're on the business side, then you might in theory be eligible. And also if you work in arts, if you're a musician, an artist, actor, then again, there might be ways for you to move to the UK. So I can help with that as well. So yeah, I think we covered everything. Thank you so much, Edith, for your time today. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you to you, Nadia, for helping all this process. And I'm really glad to meet you.
Yeah, me too. I think it was quite an intense process, and quite, I realized it was stressful for you because of all the, technician shutdown and all of that. But I think you handled it very well, and you got the result that I think to me was very obvious from the beginning. As I said, like from the very beginning, I have no no doubts, and I don't see any possibility of rejection, which honestly doesn't always happen. Like sometimes there are cases where we discuss things with the client and we're like, okay, this thing, it might be a risk, right? But if you're fine with this risk, we can proceed. I think in your case it was like clear-cut case that everything that Technation loves, the awards, the public talks, open source, like it was just perfect. So yeah, I'm happy that it worked out. I'm only sorry that you had to wait for a long time, but yeah, you got the endorsement, you got the visa, so all good. And I do, look forward to kind of your new chapter of life in the UK. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for everybody for tuning in, and I do hope we'll stay in touch and wish you a wonderful weekend ahead. Bye.
Bye.